Everyone, welcome to another guest lecture in the Data Alchemist Bootcamp. These have been extremely insightful and informative, and you guys have really loved them. So today we have Daniel, who works at the data team at Safe, and is here to discuss account abstraction, a little bit about the analytics that they use, and also how they utilize increment. So without further ado, Daniel, do you want to introduce yourself and then jump in?
Yeah, absolutely. Can you guys hear me well?
Yep, got you.
Cool. Yeah, well, super happy to be here. Also, look, thank you for the invitation. I'm Daniel. I'm part of the data team here at Safe, and I'll be super happy to tell you a little bit what Safe is, how do we see that account abstraction is going, and also a little bit of what we at the data team at Safe are doing. And super happy also to take some of your questions, also to stay in touch, either via, for example, Twitter or in general, like super happy to engage in conversations. Is it fine for you, Luke, if I start sharing my screen?
Yep, jump into it, sir.
Cool. Then let me know if you're already able to see my screen.
Yep, we got you.
Nice. So, okay. So as mentioned, like here today, we're going to talk about account abstraction and pretty much like what is happening now at Safe. To start things, I will introduce you, probably you already know what is Safe Wallet. Is the most secure way to own assets. If you have used Safe before, probably this interface is familiar for you. This is our web app where you can see also like our interface, the different dApps, like the wallet, and also for the mobile part, you see it as well. And pretty much this is one vertical that we see how our product is divided. And Safe Wallet is available in 12 different networks. Those are all EVM compatible, like for example, obviously Ethereum, but also some rollups like Optimism, Arbitrum, as well like Polygon, Avalanche, Gnosis for historical context as well, and expanding to new as well. And to give you kind of like a little bit of context, how much assets are stored, this is a little bit outdated. I will share in a second the newest data points in this. A couple of weeks ago or a few months ago, Safe had close to 4 million transactions already. Approximately 40 billion assets were stored, and there were like close to 1.5 million Safe accounts deployed. Now this number has grew a little bit more, like we're close to 2.5, a little bit more than 2.5 million Safe deployed. And as we speak, there should be around 60 billion assets stored in different RC20 tokens, plus native tokens as well, and a lot of different also NFT collections as well. To give you some context about how much this is, for example, you have here the TVL for different DeFi for Ethereum, for Binance, for Arbitrum, and as you can see, like 60 billion is already like a massive number that people are trusting to store safe securely. And in order to understand a little bit like how big this is also for Web3, close to 10% of all USDCs are on safes. Also at the moment, close to 5% of the whole crypto market cap. And this is also approximately at the same time, more than 2 million Ethereums are on safe, for example, stake, and around close to 1% of all transactions on ETH and mainnet are consumed via safe transactions. So we're seeing some adoption of also of people using smart contract wallets. And also some people are storing also heavily priced NFT collections. For example, 15% of all the CryptoPunks are being stored in safe, approximately 24% of all nouns, also some apes as well, some moonbirds and azukis, other collections like people are choosing to store in a smart account wallet like Safe. And this is a little bit about Safe Wallet. What is Safe Core? This is our vertical, and Safe Core is the toolkit for the developers to build on top of Safe. So if people want to create applications or also specialized smart contract wallets, they can use SafeCore in order to do that. We see SafeCore as we have an SDK, API, and also the protocol level as well. For the protocol, you can think it as a set of modules, guards, and what are these things? So to understand a little bit, for example, modules are, you can enable them as, like, for example, plugins, and they extend the logic of the smart account wallets. This can be, for example, recovery sessions as well. And guards are an extra level of protection, for example, MEV protection, or also limit spending, for example. And this is also that you can customize the smart account wallet. Probably the vast majority know Safe as a multi-sig wallet, and it is a multi-sig wallet, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. And this is what Safe is known for. However, a smart account wallet, account abstraction is a little bit more. Like you can customize your smart account to have spending policies, roles, recovery mechanism, transaction batching, automation, permissions, hierarchies, gas abstraction, fraud monitoring, etc. This is all with the idea also to make the user experience in Web3 way more friendly. What is this user experience that okay, this is just a little bit about our also API that you can leverage as well. And moving on a little bit about the SDK. The SDK is compromised from an authentication kit, on-ramp kit, relaying kit, and protocol kit. Authentication kit, like for example, that you can authenticate yourself in a more friendly manner, on-ramping from fiat to crypto, and off-ramping as well, and relaying service so that users don't pay for all the transactions. I was mentioning a little bit earlier about making the user experience more like Web2 style, a little bit more friendly, that users really like enjoy using the product. You can think about these types of different auth kits that they can enable this. For example, the auth kit, we're using Web3 auth, for example, to onboard via social login. So for example, if you have your Google account, you can go also now soon to the Safe wallet, and also like use your Google account to create a Safe. Also you can leverage the relaying service so that users do not pay for transactions as well. This is taking care of a relaying service. And for example, also you can soon on-ramp via credit card to deposit, for example. And to make a little bit more crystal, what is this? Is like we are kind of like the mobile experience is a little bit moving, like to have a more Web2 style onboarding experience, to really like that we shouldn't expect that all the users are very tech savvy and Web3 experience, so that it is a way more smoother and user experience also with the transaction, that these are more taking care from the, for example, a relaying, and that you are able to leverage on ramps, off ramps as well. This is kind of like the philosophy of a Web2 like user experience if we want to onboard the next 1 billion users in Web3. And pretty much this is a combination of what SafeCore is about. Not only being a multi-sig, but like as mentioned before, spending limits, easy integration, fiat payments, social login, public API. Like you can leverage all these different use cases via SafeCore. And at the moment, these are like this is part of our SDK. On-ramp, authentication kit, relaying kit. Soon it will be also multi-chain and recovery kit, hopefully. You can stay in tune and also look into our developer documentation here in Core Safe Global. And moving a little bit away or moving forward to what we do in the data team for our use case at Safe. Here are just a handful of use cases that I listed that might be interesting for you. For
Could I just
example,
jump in with a quick question,
yeah,
Dennis?
sure, absolutely.
For sure. So just for a few of those people that don't understand safe or
Yeah.
what a multi-sig is or something like this, do you reckon you could just maybe explain some of the nuances between a normal address, so probably what everyone's familiar with, and then
Yeah.
like a safe, so you know what it does in terms of the signers and so on and so forth, and the fact that it's a smart contract and that.
Yeah. So probably like I will even go like one step earlier. Usually the Web3 user journey starts when, as a Web2 user, you buy your first crypto. This is usually being is made in, for example, a centralized exchange, for example, Binance, Coinbase, Kraken, etc. And then you have some tokens, but this is like kind of like the message that has been broadcasted in the last months heavily after the FTX saga. Not your keys, not your crypto. So there was some awareness that it was created after these events, and people start moving, and way more people are going more to the Web3 style usage. This is kind of like the next step, is that usually people use external own accounts. The most famous example is MetaMask, the wallet with the fox, if people know it. And this already enables to have a more Web3 experience because you're controlling your keys and you're controlling your assets, essentially. However, there's a single point of failure using external own accounts, not necessarily like MetaMask, like in general, external own accounts. If your seed phrase is compromised, then there's full access to your account. And on top of that as well, if you lose your seed phrase or like your private keys in general, your mnemonic phrase, then there's no support in Binance or Kraken that can help you like recover this. And kind of like what Safe is solving is the single point of failure, to have recovery mechanisms, to have also a different set of customization, that the smart wallet is the one that is essentially your wallet, and you can customize it with different sets of rules in order to have different types of scenarios. Like I was mentioning that multi-signature is the element where Safe became very famous. And to give you an example, I had a startup before, and we were using Safe, the founders, for our funds, and we were using leveraging the multi-signature because all the founders, we needed like a certain threshold that the founders needed to sign in order that we can move assets from one way to another. Like this is the famous like multi-signature element. There are other elements that with account abstraction as well, you can also make a way more a better user experience for the users. And it's kind of like two different personas at the moment that are using Safe as a solution. One element is, for example, DAOs that have massive amounts of assets or treasuries that they are storing securely in Safe, but also even retail users that are seeing, for example, Vitalik has a Safe that says, okay, this is the way that we can, for example, customize it, that we don't pay, for example, for transactions. There's a famous memo that it was published by Vitalik some weeks ago, where he says, okay, the way to go is to have more security, but also to enable L2s, for example. And this is all possible, like, for example, with Safe. I hope that this kind of like answers your question, Luke.
Yeah, can I just do like a quick summary and you tell me if I'm correct?
Please do.
Understanding
Please do.
correctly. So you sort of have the track of the normal Web3 user, which is they go to something like Kraken or Coinbase and they purchase, their first asset. This may be Bitcoin, ETH, whatever it is. And then, the exchange holds the keys. They don't really own their assets. There's no real difference between regular exchanges, like maybe a Fidelity or something where you buy and sell stocks, right? They, at the end of the day, have custody of these assets. So then you want to try and experience Web3 a little bit more, and you go and you open up, say, a MetaMask. So this is just your normal address. These are referred to as EOA addresses, externally owned addresses. And this is very normal, right? You can transact, you can go to SushiSwap and swap and such. And but then if you want an extra layer of security, you can, and customizability to your wallet, you can create a safe. Now, a safe is actually like a smart contract, right? A smart contract, just like any other smart contract on the chain, like Uniswap or SushiSwap or OpenSea, right? These are just smart contracts that execute some custom logic. So that's what a safe is. You create this smart contract, and you can do so. You can assign signers to this wallet. So let's say me, Daniel, and Moises from the chat here. We want to create a safe because we have a business, or we're controlling some sort of treasury. So we create a safe between us, and then in order to transact with that safe, so in order to go swap on Uniswap or transfer funds to another wallet, I can say that 2 out of 3 of us need to sign that transaction in order to send it. So if one person's, say, keys get stolen, right? Say if Daniel's keys get stolen, they can't come and, steal money out of this safe, because it requires another one of us to do it. So when you have something like Aave or, Compound or, Uniswap and such, which have these like billion-dollar treasuries or treasuries, hundreds of millions of dollars, it's way too risky to have that in a single wallet, which one person controls, right? Because there's, they accidentally sign a bad transaction or go to a bad website and their keys get stolen, then hundreds of millions, billions of dollars get stolen. So you create a safe, you assign, a lot of these guys have like 5 or 6 signers, and then it requires 3 or 4 or however many you want, really, in order to send transactions from that safe. So it's much, much more secure, and you're able to customize it a lot depending on your, how much risk you're willing to take on and such. Does that sum it up, Daniel?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Sweet. Awesome. Then I'll let you jump into it.
Yeah. So also, if there's like other elements that you or like the audience would like to dig a little bit deeper, like super happy also to gather this information, these questions in the Q&A, and also go a little bit deeper on this. I was also, thank you for this. Look, kind of like also mentioning what we are doing in the data team. Like I just listed a handful of use cases that we're, for example, like interested, like analyzing to understand how people are using the safe, what types of assets are being stored. So for example, this is the first use case, assets under management, what types of NFTs, what collections, which tokens as well, which native tokens for the activity. Some of the things that we're interested in is like not only the safes that are being deployed, but the daily active users, weekly active users, monthly active users, really like safes that are doing like some sort of transactions as well. What is the retention also over a period of different weeks, different months as well? And what are the main transaction types? Are there being like swaps, breaches, ERC20 transfers, NFT transfers, etc.? Are there like providing liquidity, lending, borrowing? These are all things that we can see on chain with platforms like Covalent. And there are some also account abstraction specifics, like for example, which models are being enabled, but which safes, how often are being these models enabled? Also, are people using relaying services there? How much gas is being sponsored as well? What are the levels of multi-sig settings? For example, how many signers on average a safe has? And Lastly, as well, SAFE also has a DAO, like we are at the end contributors to the DAO, and we have a community where people can propose and vote on different elements how SAFE can develop in the future, which products, which also how the ecosystem is growing and their initiatives for this. You can also, with the SAFE token, you can take part in these proposals, and also like you can see like how many people are voting, what is the voting power, how the proposals, what was the resolution of the proposal, etc. And to make kind of like ClearStar one of these use cases, I want to show you, for example, a basic query that we have here, that we use here at Covalent. And we have the safes that are being deployed on a weekly basis since beginning of or mid 2022 up to this week. On the right side, we also have, for example, the share of the different chains of where safes are being deployed. We see that, for example, Polygon has been a predominant chain, but also lastly, Optimism as a rollup and Arbitrum as well. Mainnet has been also very, very important, particularly for storing assets that have a large value. I can show you, for example, our Covalent dashboard that we have here for the safes that are being deployed. You can see here, I will put this here. So you can see here particularly this query that I was showing you of the safes that are being deployed, the share as well, which different in which respectively chain they were deployed. As you can see, by the end of last week, a lot of safes were being deployed in Polygon. Now, lately, in the last 3 days, is Optimism a lot. If you have seen the news or Twitter, particularly Twitter, for our announcements, probably you could see why this is happening. And we can take a look at one of the queries, for example, this one, and I can show you, for example, how a query is being constructed. And we first start with, for example, we are here interested in the weekly deployment of safes. In order to do this, like we're interested in to see in which chain this is happening, also the week as well. And here comes one of the beauties of using Covalent increment. Given that increment is indexing all of the change, in other data providers, you will need to run this query for the different change. And if you see here, there are way too many testnets as well, sidechains as well. And here is just a matter of using one schema, blockchains all change. And then here, it's just like a column in which blockchain this transaction is happening. And now here we're leveraging logs, so events that are being emitted in order to see this. You can see here, for example, say setup, and this is the topic. I'm going to show you how we can see this topic as well. And we're just putting some filters as well. For example, at least there should be 10,000 ways spent. The transaction should be true. And just for optimizing the query, it should be after July 2022. And I want to show you, for example, this topic. And I was looking at a safe that it was deployed 2 hours ago by this person. And if you can see, this person interacted with a smart contract that is essentially a proxy factory. And this is the transaction hash. And if we look into the transaction hash, and particularly the logs, you can see here, a topic was emitted. And if you compare this, like focus on the first two and the first 4 characters, you can see this 141D is exactly the same here as 141D. So it was deployed using the method safe setup, and this method has essentially an event that is being emitted, and then a log is printed every time this event is emitted. And usually this topic, the topic 0 or the first topic is essentially the signature. And then here we have additional data This second topic, if you compare this ACB7, you see here is essentially the proxy factory and the version of the smart contract, pretty much, of the safe that is being deployed. Then you can see who are the owners and the threshold as well that they set in the data. And you can see here, this owner F475 represents F475, this person that we were looking that has a ENS label, this DCICT. And you can see here, this was the safe proxy factory, the one that we were looking into in the logs as well. And this is particularly the transaction where it happened. And basically, if you query like this, you can have in a very simple query where you are just pretty much filtering by the topics. You can have a very good overview of the safes that are being deployed everywhere. And you can have, like, you can customize it here, create different also charts as well to have also the share, the percentage in each change as well as select a page, a dashboard, essentially, where you would like to add your visualization. And in a similar matter, you can create additional dashboards. For example, there could be the use case that we want to create a dashboard for the monthly active users, weekly active users, daily active users, etc. And kind of like the idea is that you have kind of like a workspace at the end of the day here at Increment, and you will have all the data across different cross streams. I hope this kind of like gives you kind of like an idea about what we can do in a very simple example here using Increment, and to showcase you what are the different types of things that we can do analyzing on-chain data as well. We do also analyze with a different set of tools. We have a tech stack that we're using here at the data team as well. We're interested in as well. Also understanding what is happening in the off-chain data, particularly to improve our product and to see where safe is being, how safe is being used. Having said that, also we will expand our data team. The position will be open soon in the next weeks. So if you are curious to know more what Abstraction is going to, also you would like to work in a leading Web3 company as well, probably you can follow us on Twitter. Also stay tuned in our career site. The opening is coming soon in the next weeks as well. And also super happy to stay in touch also via Twitter, for example, and to I'll be super happy if someone here from the bootcamp is willing to apply and hopefully like be teammates with us. Having said that, I'm super happy also to take some questions, to start a discussion as well, and also to hear more about what you would like to analyze as well.
Amazing. Incredible. Thank you, Daniel. So I think we definitely have some questions coming in first. My first one is, we hear this word account abstraction getting thrown around. And, you know, it's become a little bit of a buzzword. So do you reckon you could just break that down into what account abstraction actually is?
Yes, I mean, it's kind of like going back to enabling or leveraging like a smart account wallets. And it's just about not only being a multi-signature wallet, but also like having all these different logics that you're putting, customizing, for example, having spending policies, different roles, recovery mechanisms, hierarchies, permissions, and gas abstraction, fraud monitoring, etc.
Mm-hmm. So the interesting thing about the Gnosis safes, as Daniel explained before, was that they're smart contracts, right? They're not normal EOA. So you can now apply custom logic to them, right, Daniel? You can now commit to your safe and go, hey, smart contract. I want you to execute some custom business logic that says these 3 wallets can take $10 out of this safe every month or something like this, right? So you can actually do some very, very interesting things with these things called modules. Right. So in saying that, these modules are very, very interesting, but at least for my role, where it could somehow get difficult is if all of these addresses are custom smart contracts and they're executing custom functions, interacting with custom smart contracts and such, interacting with each other, the world of analytics could get pretty difficult, right, in understanding what these guys are doing. For example, we've needed to decode a bunch of DEXs, NFT marketplaces on Increment and lending protocols and such. And you need to go into the smart contract and you need to look at the events and go, okay, this guy's doing this guy's doing that. Here is, the NFT getting traded. Here's the amount. And then you decode it and make it nice and human readable. In a world of account abstraction, where, say half the wallets are these smart contracts, how hard does it get to analyze the space and analyze what's happening?
And yes, I mean, first of all, like you're completely right. Also, how you're explaining what a kind of abstraction is and where it's going. I think like you're addressing a kind of like a challenge at the moment, that you're part of your challenges at the moment also is decoding, understanding all these smart contracts. And pretty much at the end, Etherscan or other tools are kind of also your friend as well to really understand this. I mean, there is some also developments also using LLMs also to understand different smart contracts a little bit better, to optimize kind of like this mystery as well. At the same time, we do hope, and this is kind of like part of Safe Core mission, that people leverage the SDK toolkit that we have. And ideally, you don't want more people building their own smart wallets, because it could get messy. And if you have a toolkit where you can leverage like the whole pavement that has been done before, and you just are basically adding on top of this, and then it creates way more visibility, like what is happening in a kind of abstraction as well.
So you guys are kind of trying to be the EVM of account abstraction, right? A standard at which people can build chains on top of, right?
That will be the goal. That will be the goal.
Yeah, for sure. I was definitely, at least we're very happy that the EVM got widely used, because it makes analyzing what's happening on the blockchain very, very simple, right? Or much more simple if everyone had completely custom virtual machines and consensus mechanisms and such. All the data structures were different. Like, for example, on Solana, because they're not EVM, they actually have, multiple signers of a transaction or transaction senders, for example. So in our schema, where we hold a single transaction sender address, because there's just one person in the EVM, there's just one person sending the transaction. For Solana, that would need to be an array, right? An array of senders and such. So it'd be much, much more difficult to have this unified schema, or actually pretty impossible to have this unified schema across these guys. So we're definitely running towards this. I'm also, we're also working on trying to have a unified schema for account abstraction projects and such, to try and make this more simple, but I'm sure it will work itself out for sure. So some more questions coming in. Is Safe not suitable for personal usage? Any ordinary Web3 user, or not the whales or big fishes? So I think that's just, is it suitable for everyday people to use? And maybe I'll just have an anecdote before you jump into it, Daniel. Sure. I have a Safe, and I've used a Safe, and the user experience and the UI is extremely simple and very, very compelling. Now, I don't think everyone needs to have multiple signers on their Safe. I don't think people need that level of security, but in terms of simplicity, and ease of use, it's very, very simple and easy to use.
I'm super happy to hear that. And also, we're also eager to always like improve our product and also understand where are some like bumps in our road that we can improve as well, particularly in the user experience. I would say it should, like, we're striving and we're aiming so that it is suitable for the retail user. Like for historical purposes, I think more like organizations have been using the safe. However, we would like to see also some more adoption if we want to onboard like the next 1 billion people. I think, like, for example, in my personal case, what I really like as a user for while using safe is that I also have a lot of different dApps as well. I like to use Uniswap or 1inch, etc. And these are, for example, applications that are already like in the interface as well of safe. So I don't even need to switch interfaces. I can use, if I want to swap a token, I can use Uniswap. I can use also 1inch. There are also like the ecosystem, there are like approximately 150 dApps that you can interact on, and we're continuously assessing like what are dApps that are quite interesting for our users, and where usage is being is where our users are engaging with which dApps. And we are also like putting a strong emphasis in making the user experience a little bit more friendlier as well. That's why I think like this can resonate to the retail user as well. A feature that we launched last week is really fun, that essentially you could have also a kind of like alert if you are engaging in a transaction that could be malicious as well. I think this is also super interesting to the retail user while navigating in the Web3 space. Sometimes like you don't know like the smart contract that you're interacting, or like a malicious suspect. And if you have this level of security as well, where there's kind of like a crypto body that is telling you, hey, careful, this transaction can be dangerous, there is also that can be covered already with the safe as well. I think also the relaying is also super interesting at the end, particularly if you are thinking about a use case of gaming. You don't want to pay for every single transaction that you're doing as well. And if the project that you're interacting is sponsoring like this transaction, then this gets super also appealing to the user, because hey, as a normal user in an external own account, I need to pay for every single transaction that I'm doing. And if I'm using something like a smart account wallet where it's customized, that I don't need to pay for it, then this is actual money that I'm saving as well. So I think these are kind of like some example and use cases how also safe, hopefully, is also appealing and also suitable for as a personal usage as well.
Amazing. Just to touch on gaming, with the safe stack, say I'm launching a game, am I able to essentially, when users sign in or sign up, they essentially sign up for a new safe. So a new safe gets created for them. And then can the game essentially take away a lot of the fees, like cover the fees and, cover the, approval events and so on and so forth. So the user like never really sees it or interacts with it. They know on the, maybe on the back end, all of the ugly signatures and ugly transactions, signatures and such are getting approved. But on the front end, it's you just see your assets coming in, going out, you see a list of your transactions, and you're not particularly, having to approve and such all the time. That's possible?
Theoretically, yes. This is something that it could be like an ideal use case for gaming.
Yeah, it's very, very interesting, and definitely a step function from the user experience that we have right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what are the basic requirements for a position with the Gnosis data team? Maybe you could just explain a little bit about like the stack that you guys use, and then also maybe some steps if you're a beginner, because there's a lot of beginners here, some steps to getting familiar with this data stack.
Yeah,
over time.
absolutely. So I think like in general now at the moment in the data team, we're looking particularly to improve our product. So it's going in the direction a lot of data analysts as well. So some of the stack are on-chain data providers, for example, Covalent, also others as well, but also off-chain. We're also interested in analyzing off-chain data for what is happening in our interface, particularly as well. I think like having a good skill set of processing data, like for example, SQL with relational databases is a must. Other types of data architecture are nice to have. It could be interesting also later if you want to create a social graph or to have kind of like other understandings of also data structure. I think like it's also kind of like important to process data also in an encrypted language, for example, Python as well. And if some of like here the data enthusiasts as well are interested in data science, machine learning, this is also something that we will explore as well to gather further insights while leveraging like machine learning techniques as well. This is something also that we're super eager to look at it as well. These are kind of like the requirements. As mentioned, like we are as we speak, like describing this profile. It will be online hopefully soon in the next weeks, so that if this is kind of like the role that looks challenging for you and that you could also see that you can grow in your career, super happy also to, I'll be super happy to see some of the data enthusiasts of this bootcamp applying.
Incredible. So Moises, just to answer your question as well, are you using filters or just SQL? So it looks like Daniel's using SQL there, but in terms of using the data models, you could build what Daniel built with the data models for sure. So is AA, account abstraction, only available for Safe Core, or is it enabled for Safe Wallet?
So it is also, like, for example, Safe Wallet also will use Safe Core. So implicitly, it will be also AA available for Safe Wallet.
How much does a Safe cost?
How much does a Safe cost? At the moment, it is free. So it is depending on the chain that you're deploying. There was a time that if you were deploying that Gnosis chain, it was free. It was covered by it was sponsored. Now it is just like the deployment cost that is
Yeah.
the gas fee that is costing you. So if you're deploying, for example, in Polygon, it's not necessarily very expensive. Depending on the day and the hour, if you're deploying on mainnet, it could be the gas fee is a little bit more expensive.
Awesome. Incredible. Is it possible to use a Safe Wallet in the following manner? So the way Brian's describing the use case here, he wants to have a Gnosis safe, which if the transaction is below $500, anyone can sign it. So it needs a single signer. And if it's above $500, it needs multiple signers. Is that possible?
It is part of our, like, the part of the things that you can customize in the spending policies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can essentially do any custom logic that you want, right? I think the imagination is really the blocker, right? That's the rate limiter.
Correct.
Incredible. All right, we're coming up on time here. 3 minutes. It looks like the questions have stopped. So it has been absolutely incredible. It's been absolutely incredible to have you, Daniel. It was extremely insightful. I'm very excited about account abstraction and jumping into the on-chain analytics behind it. It's going to be a huge narrative and a huge piece of technology as we, as Daniel explained, it's going to be, probably a step function up from the current user experience. So it's very exciting. And I hope that the Safe Core standard gets implemented just like the EVM, so it's everywhere. So there's a standard behind these safes, these account abstraction accounts that get created. So it's been amazing to have you, Daniel, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Luke. It was a pleasure also being here, and hope to see you again.